find you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith will stand, and I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed and you won't start now. So I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the water wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. So I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Oh, you're mine.
Hi everybody, welcome to another Sunday service. Today we're gonna be chilling with you. Today we'll be chilling with me and a couple of amazing women as we discuss how we characterize God, what God means to us as women, and how we express that. Does it make sense? Are you with us? Are you raw? So without further ado, let's get into this lovely conversation. Boop. Okay, DJ. Then we can do whatever we want after this. Cool. So the first question is, how have you managed to relate to God as a father? And like, what does that mean for you growing up? Does it make sense? So who wants to go first? The floor is yours.
I'll go.
Thank you so much, Caitlin.
So for me, I think because my dad actually passed away when I was little, so growing up, I didn't really have a physical father figure in my life. And in that way, I could count on God to do that for me. He was always there to protect me when I was scared. I could come and just be comforted by him. And he's always like been there to lead and guide me in that way. So yeah.
That's beautiful. It reminds me of, The Shack. We did, actually, this time last year we did a series on The Shack of how this guy couldn't relate to God as a masculine figure, but as a feminine figure because of almost opposite to what we went through. But so I understand that. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else wanna go?
For me, my dad is my best friend. Anybody who knows you anybody that knows me will tell you that my dad and I have so many inside jokes and so many nicknames. Like, for instance, on my phone, my dad is not saved as Dad, he's saved as Totals, mainly because that's what he called me when I was younger. He called me Totals, so it's Totals on my phone. And now, God is just that person amplified to me.
Yeah.
He is the person that has taught me that I can love unconditionally because my dad loved me unconditionally. So that's who God is to me.
We lost Caitlin. Is Caitlin still here? Because my screen did the thing.
She's
back. Caitlin still here?
She's back. She's back.
Okay, cool. Courtney, do you wanna?
Yeah. So for me, I kind of had to think about this one because growing up, and I'm sure most of you can relate to this, we're kind of taught to believe and kind of taught to have an image in our head of God as this massive, powerful man who lives in the sky and who watches over you. And so growing up, I kind of, that was the image I had of him in my head, but I feel like I didn't really know who or what God was. Growing up, and as I get older and as I learn more about my faith and grow my relationship with God, I've kind of learned that God can be whoever you want him to be, whether that's female or male. And so even though I still kind of picture him as this big guy in the sky, because I've grown up picturing him like that, I feel like I understand more now, and I can kind of relate more to him now. And he's not this unreachable, unimaginable thing anymore. So
yeah. I really like what you explained, because I grew up in a Christian school and I grew up in a church.
Yeah,
so I was really surrounded by surrounded by these, no offense, but generic ideas of what God is. Male, white, beard, very big and scary, and he's gonna come down and
lightning bolt.
If you can mistake, But then, funny enough, actually during my schooling year, especially towards the end of my primary school year, we started doing ways like Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Provider, Jehovah Nisi, Jehovah, calling him all these beautiful names, and be comforter, provider, And for me, those traits were mixed with masculine and feminine, and that's why even if you see me, there's something that Hloni mentioned, that you are what you worship, and that's why if you see me, I mixed a lot of feminine and masculine energy, because I believe that they both exist within each other. So for me, when I was growing up, as much as Courtney said, I had that image of this white, big guy in the sky who's gonna just put him. But the more I got to unpack through the Bible studies we did at school or whatever, I felt no, man, if he's a comforter, then he can be like my mom. If he's a this, he can be like my dad, because my parents are separated, so I get to see them in different spaces and contexts. So, and God as well, for me, I experience him in different spaces and contexts, and it shows in how I dress and how I am, how I relate. I can be a little bit masculine, shady, what's up? I can be the Baby Ryan. That leads me to the next question of do you think that God can have feminine and qualities or traits, and Courtney kind of went into that. Thank you so much for leading us into this discussion. So do you guys think that God can have like feminine traits or qualities? I mean, if you're watching, you can also answer for yourself. While you're watching us, you can also think for yourself and like, be like, and then you can even comment below on our post, YouTube, Instagram, whatever, and let us know what you think. Sorry, you were saying, kids, or she done disappeared. Who wants to take the first? Caitlin, would you love to?
Okay, yeah. So for me, I definitely think God has feminine traits and qualities because He can be that comforting and almost that sense of peace that we long for. And yeah, also in the fact that God created Earth, He created all life, and in that way, nurturing and help grow. So yeah, I think
that's a good one because, like, you know, there's like symbols like Santa Claus, Mother Nature. They sometimes stand in place of what God is and who God is. So for me, if I think of Mother Nature, I think of like Him being like the mother of the earth as well. You know. So I hear what you're saying. Anybody else?
For me, it's I heavily and truly do believe that He does. I some days believe that He has more feminine traits than He does male traits, and I'll explain why I say this. I think He cares so much for us. He made a sacrifice that a lot of people only put down to a mother's sacrifice.
True.
And
that's right.
As a mother would do anything for her kids, God literally gave up like His own son for us. And that is the type of sacrifice a mother would make.
Yeah.
And you know, for a lot of people, I know for me personally, when you don't have the best relationship with your mother, God is the person you turn to most of the time. Whereas God is actually, you know, guys, a lot of girls will WhatsApp their best friends and be like, oh, what do you think of this outfit? How does my hair look? How does my makeup look? I will look in my mirror and be like, God, do you approve of this outfit? Can I leave my house like this?
That's so amazing. I should start doing that. That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Like, I do that. Like, I genuinely and honestly do that. Because, like, He is my female best friend. He is the person that I know that He will not lead me astray. And He is like, I honestly truly believe that if God was a person, He'd be a female. Because he puts up with a lot. He puts up with all of us. And that's a lot. But yeah.
Courtney, what's your take?
Yeah, so this is kind of relating to, I kind of like lead into the next question.
Yes.
In the Bible, God is kind of, He takes on a male personage, and like I said, we kind of tend to believe that He is a man, just because of, you know, the Bible and how we're taught to see Him and believe Him. But I feel like, as I said earlier, God can be whoever you want Him to be. I don't believe that He is a male or He is a female. I feel like it's custom to every individual, and if you feel more comfortable with God being a female, then that's okay. If you feel comfortable with God being a male in your head, then that's also okay. I feel like it's just whatever someone feels more comfortable with picturing him to be like, or her to be like.
Yeah. So I am very fortunate enough to be studying art, essentially, and how to like unpack art. So art is in like stories, music, tweets, as in like Instagram posts, whatever. And last year we were working with myths, like myth, and they were like create a visual medium of a creation myth, any creation myth, and we chose to do an Egyptian creation myth with what that said that in the beginning they were like these gods that were both male and female, and when they created humans they split themselves up into like a male and a female, you know. So I feel like God did the same, because when we speak about creation, he was like, "We're gonna make us in His image," and He took a rib from Adam to make females. So I think God did like, He put Himself. He's like, "Okay, I like that. Great. And Adam was like, "Oh, I'm lonely. Everybody here has partners. I'm lonely." And He's like, "Fine, cool. Let me give you this other part of me, this other more softer one who's gonna be a little bit more softer than you are, a little bit different, but who's gonna, what's the word, compatible? That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, English, So it's gonna be a little more compassionate and compatible with you, So I think that's, to add on to what Courtney said, I think that's how I see God, as this like being who's neither or, but it also is both. It's neither but both. It makes sense. Yeah. So like, is it easier for you guys to relate to Him as female or as a male? For example, I know with kids, you have pointed out that it's much easier for you to relate with Him as a male because of the relationship with your father, and vice versa for everybody else. But like, would it be easier if initially when we're thinking about God and the creation story and all of that, if He was a female in the beginning, would it be easier for us to get to know Him? Anybody want to take it? And if you also have an answer.
I would quote, I'm going to steal your answer now. I'm going to steal Courtney's answer and say it's better to imagine God in the image you need Him to be at that point in time. Because the way you perceive Him in that story is how we're going to be perceiving Him, because that is the initial story you hear of God. The first story you hear of Jesus and God it's the creation, then it's His birth, and then it's His crucifixion. That's how it goes. And I think the way we perceive Him in the creation story is the way we need to perceive Him. And I think your perception of God is also a perception of your relationships with others. Because I know for a fact that I relate to my dad on certain levels, but then I'll talk to Junie and I'll be like, that's why God put you in my life. So thanks for that. I think if God embodies everybody in our lives, it's not this one person or this one being. God is everybody around us actually, because that is who we are. We are a part of Him, and if we are a part of Him, we are Him essentially. So I think it is who you need Him to be in that point in time. There is no He is one way. There is no He's up, down, left, right, center. It's He is who I am, and I am who He is. But that's my very long-winded answer for that very.
I like that answer. I really like that answer. Anybody has anything to add to that answer? Anybody?
Yeah. I don't know. So I think it's quite difficult because, as I said earlier, we kind of grew up thinking and imagining Him as this like big powerful guy in the sky, like I said, because that's kind of the image I have of Him in my head still today. I think even though if I imagine God as a woman, it could be easier to relate to Him purely because I'm also a woman. I think it would be very difficult for me to kind of make that transition in my head of God going from a male to a female, because all my life I've imagined Him as, a male figure. So, but like Kezia said, which was really beautiful, that God's kind of whoever you need in that moment in your life, and He's kind of whoever you want Him to be, and whoever you feel like you can relate the most to and feel the most comfortable around.
Yeah. So. I like that. If anything to add?
So I think like God is so beyond our comparison, our human comparison, and like we can't physically fathom whether, or like imagine, we can't physically imagine whether He would be what He is exactly. And so in that way, I think we all have our own versions of Him that we did in that time, and going along with what they said.
Yeah, I really like you guys' answers, because as I said, that's how I see God. I am this mixture of masculine and feminine, and when I need to be feminine, when I feel like I need to be feminine, I will be. You'll see that little you know. And then when I need to be masculine and be like, what's up? Like, pull up. What you gonna do? Give me lit. Like, okay. I'm sorry, that's a Pop Smoke line. But you know what I mean? Like, I really like you guys' answers. Those are very beautiful answers. Thank you so much. You know, I touched on it a bit of how we are said to be created from like a rib of a man, you know, and then females came about because this man decided he was lonely because he saw all these all these animals had their little partners. Why do I say people? Are animals people?
Animals are people in their own right, Junie.
You're very right, because my nephew and niece right now are chilling and they're watching Angry Birds, and you know, I think people. So my bad. You can edit this out. So I touched on it earlier about how this God created Adam. Adam got lonely and he was like, God, I also want the person, and God was like, okay, put you to sleep, take a rib, you know. The woman came out of it. And from that onwards, like from society's understanding of that, now it seems like a woman is created for a man, right? Like now we must tend to this person's needs because he's lonely or whatever the case may be. What are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you see the creation story in that life? That makes sense.
For me, so recently I started this docu-series on Netflix called The World's Top Dangerous Prisons or something to that effect. Anyway. And I binge watched all 4 seasons in one sitting.
Love it.
That's a lot. Anyway, and I got to a prison in Lesotho, and 64% of that prison of Lesotho is rapists. And when they ask why, they said the woman was made for us. It even says so in the Bible. And that made me sit back and think, wow, okay, this is different ways of perceiving the story. And I never thought about it like that until I heard that. For me, it was always, God saw Adam was lonely. God saw he needed a partner, someone who could help him, not serve him, but help him.
Yeah.
And people misconstrued that story as a woman was made for a man. A woman was made to be for a man. And I think it's not like that. We are all equals in some sort of way. And if God would have wanted one gender to be a servant, he would have made sure that Eve knew her place.
Yeah.
And that was not the story at all.
Yeah.
So I think the gender roles are made to help each other and to accompany each other, not rule over the other. But
yeah.
Just adding on to that, I also feel like everyone interprets the Bible in different ways, but I feel like specifically with the creation of woman, it's kind of people interpret it in a deceiving way, in that women were made for men. And I don't think that that's how the right interpretation, because I think when God made a woman, he kind of knew, like Junie said, he made a woman to be compatible and to help, Adam, because he was lonely, but not to work for him. Like, they were compatible to complement each other. And also, if we look at Mary, who is the mother of God, she's a woman. She gave birth to Jesus, and without woman, we wouldn't have life. And I think God knew that he made woman. So I don't think that women were made for men. I think everyone is equal, and God knew when he made women that they would be the giver of life, like Jesus.
Anything, Caitlin?
I completely agree. And I think men and women were both given different qualities from God, and those qualities complement each other when they work together. And in that way, I don't think one is more powerful or more, so in that way they can work together, and that's the beauty of it, so
Yeah. Well, to wrap this lovely discussion up, thank you so much for you guys' time, and thank you guys for also watching. So essentially what we're trying to bring across in this discussion is that God is whoever you need him or her to be. You know, if you need her to be a her, she can be a her. If you need him to be a him, he can be a him, you know? So, and that's what we want to push through. Unfortunately, the dominant story, because essentially, a lot of people will agree with this, but essentially the Bible is a collection of stories, right? And a story, it has narratives, and it's the way it's told and the context in which it's told, that's how things are going to be interpreted, and there's things of power. You know, there's a whole ideological thing I can go into, but I'm not going to do that because that's not the point of this discussion. But in the story, you can see that God takes different shapes. When you look at the God of Esther, the God of Ruth, you know, the God of Jesus, the God, you know, he takes up different contexts. And the problem is that people tend to stick onto one context of God or one context and run with it for everything, you know. For example, the context that I need God in right now is not the context that I needed him 2 months ago or even like 6 months ago, you know. So we want to invite you to think broadly and not limit yourself to what society or what is even told by dominant narratives, dominant story narratives of what creation is, or what even being a Christian is. That makes sense? Yeah? So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope this discussion was fruitful for you. We will have more, and we will see you same time, same place next week. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye.